One famous example of Simpson's paradox arose during an investigation of admission rates for men and women at the University of California at Berkeley's graduate schools. As reported in an article in Science, about 45% of male applicants were admitted, but only 30% of female applicants got in. It looked like a clear case of discrimination. However, when the data was broken down by school, engineering, law, medicine, etc., turned out that within each school the women were admitted at nearly the same rate, perhaps, or in some cases much higher rates than the men. How could this be? Women applied in large numbers to schools with very low admission rates. Law and medicine, for example, admitted fewer than 10%. Men tended to apply to engineering and science. Those schools have admission rates above 50%. When the average was taken, the women had a much lower overall rate, but the average didn't really make sense. This is from the Stats Modeling the World of Bach-Velleman Debut, page 33. Alright, so person A, that's me. So each school discipline should maintain their own standards for entering male and female students regardless of other disciplines. Person B?
From a university concerned with adult education, an established basis for graduate applicants will be enforced to maintain equity. This is our umbrella that's raining thoughts. Very exciting. So our problem or situation that we had to tackle was graduate college admittance criteria. You know, how certain disciplines have different requirements for admitting people into their department, and how we were going to, how we're going to facilitate that problem. So the people we thought that we could get involved in, tackling it, we talked about the regents, because they have money and they also have influence in policy at universities. We talked about chair representatives from each department getting together and talking about, what are our goals for our department, what do we see, and how we can synthesize those goals and make them the same. We talked about having an expert come in to facilitate the meetings and kind of lead the people into the thinking that they, the same thinking, I guess. We said that not just one meeting is going to work, we're going to have multiple meetings with compensation, because nobody wants to do this in their spare time. And then we said also in these meetings you can look at how other universities, other states, other countries have addressed this problem, and kind of use that as a blueprint to start outline to kind of start our own thinking. We also said to include a student representative in the discussion, because they are the ones that are going to be in the departments benefiting from all the knowledge and things like that. And other than that, that was it.
Basically what it's saying is, to summarize this all together, is the educational researchers, they want to have time for people to use technology because it's going to benefit the classrooms, but the teachers are all concerned about their planning time and having to take time away, this extra time, go into this technology workshop to learn it, and they'd rather spend some time collaborating across subject areas. So that's kind of a summarization of where we're at. Is just it's time. It's all about teacher time. Time means everything to teachers and planning and that stuff. So that's the summary.
The reason why they rely on traditional established instructional practices is because that's what they've always done, and the minimum has always worked. So why change what they don't see as broken? Period. And it's easier to take the path of less resistance.
Discuss why educational researchers want an integrated approach to high use of technology. Alright, if you're going to research, integrated approaches either make it more efficient to gather data and even more interesting, I think. So that way when they can get their message or their answers across. And then if they use the internet, then it's quicker. That's what I'm thinking. That's why they would want to integrate an integrated approach.
The teachers didn't have time. Time was precious to them because that was their time. They wanted to plan, to collaborate with their groups, but the other group wanted to put that time into using technology because it's for classroom instructions for the students. So what we did is in our class, so we had some of our CRs are all connected together, they're all touching each other. See that? They're not all separated. They're touching each other. So we had instructional technology was one. They're all interwoven too, as you can see, around the pole here. So we have curriculum instruction. These are all parts that play a role in this. In our we have teacher attitudes, parents, and then administration also. And then the what would we call this up here? Like this is like the X factor. The X factor. The X factor is.
Our dilemma had to do with the question of elementary school teachers not having a specific background in the teaching of science, and whether that was a problem to be addressed or whether that was fine as it is. And a couple of the arguments that came up centered around the facilities in an elementary school aren't really set up for, they don't have science labs. The elementary teacher has to be a generalist anyway, so how are they going to know enough to teach the students science, and the kids don't have enough math skills to do high-level science. But then the suggestion was, well, if it's important, then we would put labs in schools, and we would have content area specialization among the elementary teachers. So the compromise was that we would teach science, but we wouldn't necessarily have the different teachers specialized. We would actually have all of the teachers still with a general curriculum having a component where they would teach students to think like a scientist. Because at the elementary level, that's really appropriate. They don't necessarily have to have, high-tech chemistry labs. But in order to really support that teacher in being effective teaching kids to ask questions, make hypotheses, test out and experiment with things, we wanted to build in a lot of these other components. So, for example, we wanted to provide an elementary science specialist, a curriculum specialist who has a strong background in elementary pedagogy with an emphasis in science, which we're not sure if there really is such a thing, but we're going to make one. And we're going to bring in real scientists from the community as guest speakers. We're going to have parent volunteers to help provide and manage all of the materials, because we know that's a big part of science teaching. Oops, I'm putting that a little bit. We're going to have a technology specialist, because the future of science relies a lot on technology. We're going to hire an architecture or a design specialist to create a real innovative space for the kids to do all of this good work in. And we're leaving one of these blank because science changes with the times as we discover new things, so you never know what we're going to need in the future.
Conformity at every turn. Inclusion without sufficient teacher support and training. Person A.
I'm gritting my teeth already.
This is your area. Person A. Debate for why students with special needs should not be assigned to a class with a teacher who has limited or no special education training. Person B, that's you. Debate why students with special needs should be assigned to a class with a teacher, regardless of their background.
That's going to be hard.
So you have to think of the opposite of what you believe.
That's going to be hard because I am person A, okay? And I'm saying that regardless of the teacher's training, I have to cringe. That
this is not your belief.
Right?
This is just your argument.
That the student should be. It doesn't matter what class you put the student in, because I'm interdisciplinary. So the teachers can collaborate together to bring the student what they need. Yeah.
And I would say back to you that someone with special needs needs a teacher with special training. And the more training and specialization that a teacher has around the special needs of that student, the better the teacher can meet those needs.
The other groups have all of our parts coming out from the top. And what we are is special education for all. And in the back we said, to have that happen, we need the state board. It's for the state board, the parents, teachers, the students, community, politicians, media. And our dilemma was, do you put students into a classroom where there is no special education teacher, or do you put all the special ed kids in with a special education teacher? And we decided that what we wanted was for all teachers to have the special education background. So how is that going to happen? So we need continuing education for teachers, and that's, to get there we need to work with the teacher school districts. We need teacher certification design, regular ed teacher certification design that includes not one course in special ed, but gives them a wide background. So to do that, we need to work and collaborate with university education faculty. And we were talking about how certifications come from the state, but then the programs are designed by the university. Then we've got teacher buy-in, because if we don't have the regular ed teacher buy-in, nothing's going to happen. So how are we going to get them? We said to start out with it's their students, to see the benefit to their students. And we need peer-to-peer working together, and we need teacher and students working together. And then we have political action and lobbying, because nothing's going to happen if we can't change it at the state level. So here we have lobby, www.raiseyourhandstexas.org. Teachers, we need teachers on the school boards and on the state. At the state level, we need to work with unions and professional organizations, and then we wrote 2 more times, lobby. So that is ours.